Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today in this interesting webinar named Accelerating the Impact of Innovation in Spain-Qatar in Carbon Technologies and Hydrogen Technologies. This is José Manuel Duran, CDTI representative for the Middle East and North Africa region. CDTI, the Spanish Agency of Innovation, with our goal is funding the R&D done by the Spanish companies at national and international level. I would like to welcome all the audience, specifically those that are joining outside Spain. We have attendees coming from Qatar, Malaysia, India, Oman, Emirates, and Morocco. Thank you, all of you, for joining us today. The final objective of this webinar is to foster future collaborations between Spain and Qatar institutions, and of course, other foreign institutions, all the countries that I mentioned right now, CDTI is collaborating with. And that is why I would like to thank the support provided by the Spanish Embassy in Doha to the organization of this event, especially to Her Excellency, Mrs. Ambassador Belén Alfaro, who has reserved a spot in her busy agenda to join us and open this online webinar. So, Mrs. Alfaro, I give you the floor. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I would like first to thank Qatar Foundation and CDTI for the implementation of this webinar. And I hope that it will help to reinforce mutual cooperation in this field. The topic of the webinar that the Spanish government, represented by the Spanish Embassy in Qatar and the Spanish Agency for Innovation, CDTI, is organizing today is of extreme importance and is aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, that were unanimously adopted by all member states of the United Nations in September 2015. These goals encompass a broad range of economic, social, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development and set specific targets for implementation of these ambitious goals. Consequently, the Kingdom of Spain, as same as the State of Qatar, and the rest of the world has the mandate of supporting and enhancing all the efforts to develop these SDGs and tackle with the climate change effects and the scarcity of resources while the global population keeps growing. In that sense, Spain is among the European leading countries in addressing the Paris Agreement targets. Besides, the European Union is promoting the European Green Deal, a set of policy initiatives with the overarching aim of making Europe climate neutral in 2050. An impact-assessed plan will also be set to increase the EU's greenhouse gas emission reductions target for 2030 to at least 50% and towards 55% compared with 1990 levels. Regarding the technologies that will be presented today, I must say that Spain is undergoing a blooming of projects related to hydrogen technologies and their applications, empowered by the next generation EU funds. As a result, an important transformation is ongoing in Spain that will affect the way we produce our energy, we transport our goods or citizens, or we light our cities. Today, we will have the chance of knowing more about R&D initiatives in that sense. Concerning the greenhouse gases capture and geological storage, the Spanish government created in 2006 the Fundación Ciudad de la Energía, CIUDEN, at Ponferrada, León. CIUDEN is a fantastic facility to improve the state-of-the-art of these technologies with a very valuable experience in international R&D projects. Finally, the ecosystem of these technologies in Spain is clustered under technological platforms, like the Spanish Technological Platform for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells, that will speak today, and the Spanish CO2 technological platform. Universities, technological centers, governmental entities, and private companies, some of them already established in Qatar and working in the energy sector like Iberdrola or Sener, are jointly working to change the Spanish landscape and show to the world our know-how. To sum up, I consider that international collaboration in research and development is mandatory to face and work out the problems that mankind is undergoing. So I celebrate that these two countries that I love, Qatar and Spain, will work together in this kind of initiatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your interesting words. It has been a pleasure having you in this webinar today. This event couldn't be done without the involvement of our local institutions. In this case, the Qatar Energy and Environment Research Institute in Qatar helped us designing the webinar, promoting the event locally, and also giving the pilot presentations about the insight of the hydrogen and carbon capture technologies in Qatar that we will be listening to later on. We have today two representatives. First of all, we will start with Dr. Mark Vermesch, who is the Executive Director of the QEERI. During the last 4 years, he has transitioned the Institute mandate for pure academic into a market-driven applied research business unit, contracting key strategic partnerships with highly ranked partner institutions and initiating financial sustainability through revenue generation from contracted services. He has more than 25 years of experience in research and innovation. Before joining QEERI, he was a scientific professor of practice in the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, KAUST, in Saudi Arabia. Before that, he worked for 11 years in Saint-Gobain, and later that 8 years in the French oil and gas company Total, where he initiated the R&D in solar energy and triggered the group business in sustainable energy sources. Please, Doctor, I give you the floor.
Thank you very much for the very nice introduction. And first of all, I would like, of course, to thank you for inviting me to be part of this very important webinar. I'm very, very happy to be here and to be given the opportunity to give you a quick outlook on our institute. Do you see my slides? I hope to be more lucky with IT today than previously.
Everything is working properly. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I called it QEERI 2.2 to highlight and to better brand and market the transition, the transformation happening in our institute, moving from an academic mandate 10 years ago, of course I wasn't there, to a more, I would say, applied research mandate. Let me check because my screen, okay, good. So globally, and recurring extreme global climate events demand concrete actions with tangible and measurable impact. Qatar, the country of Qatar, with its geography and harsh weather conditions, is already vulnerable, sorry, it's my French accent, to sea level changes, seawater infiltration into aquifers, land subsidence, and extreme weather conditions. And all of these put excessive pressure on our ecosystems, infrastructures, and economies. And beyond the urgency of the situation and a conscience of shared responsibility within the Institute, it is our core expertise in the areas of climate change and sustainability, together with our daily research experience, development, and innovation journey. And finally, the fact that they are central to a research agenda that brought us to the obvious need to propose sustainability and climate change approach and initiative across the different centers in the Institute. This sustainability and climate change initiative and the subsequent programs and projects are deep-rooted in QEERI's genes, reflecting how all the components of sustainability and climate change are inseparable. Globally, looking at the institute, so QEERI 2.2, we move from QEERI academic mandate, QEERI 1.0 to QEERI 2.2. As I said, having an applied and market-driven research mandate. Of course, we all want to be the best and to be the reference institution in the world, or at least in the country, but it's not our decision. It's via the actions and the results and commitments and achievements that we will finally be acknowledged as the reference institute. We have a national mandate. You know, the country of Qatar is not that big. I'm from Belgium, and I keep the reference number. It's 1/3 of Belgium, and Belgium is already quite a small country, but it's, of course, Qatar is a great nation. And having this national mandate, we focus, you will see the scope of work is quite broad, and I'm glad today that Dr. Veronica Bermudez is given the opportunity to give a better focus on what we do in CO2 and globally climate change. But the scope of work at the institute level is water, energy, and environment for desert and arid regions. I will not spend too much time, of course, but just to highlight, the mission is threefold. Of course, we are solution providers in these fields, water, energy, and environment in arid regions. We work with the local stakeholders, national stakeholders, mainly the government and other government-related or government-owned entities as, I would say, local advisors. We are not a consulting firm. We are in the country, and our best interest is to have successful achievements with and for the national stakeholders. So we work at the strategy level and also, of course, at the policy advocacy and policy making as a contributor. And of course, being part of Ahmad bin Khalifa University, we have an educational component in our mission, building, I would say, what I call the knowledge base and educating the future generations of Qatari scientists and engineers. Coming to the global mission, of course, the goal at the end in this part of the world is always to secure sustainable water and energy resources, but without compromising the environment that we will leave to the future generations. And it can be seen as a redefinition, or at least our understanding of sustainability. And it is, of course, tightly connected with the sustainability development goals of the United Nations. And globally, we can also say that we catalyze, and we are part of an ecosystem. We are part of building and maturing these ecosystems and enhance in the country, and enhance the role and the contribution of the Qatar Foundation and the country, the state of Qatar, on the national, international scene in science and technologies. We have reorganized the institute, of course, restructured the institute. Very quickly, we have 5 research centers and 2 programs. These programs may grow and be, I would say, incubated in the institute and later on become specific centers, of course. So 5 research centers in these fields: energy, water, environment and sustainability, the corrosion center, and a 5th center, which is in fact an observatory, natural and environmental hazards observatory, where we help the country identifying the threats for the country and controlling, monitoring, observing globally, and of course, feeding the government with scientific and technology inputs on all these threats, but of course not being by any means part of the decision process in terms of, for example, first response to any kind of event. Economics and policy program is a transverse program across these 5 centers and helps us in our transformation to being a market-driven research institute. The Earth Science program is hosting a very important contract we have with the NASA JPL for the Oasis space mission. It's a feasibility study to have a tool, globally a radar in satellite, to scan the Earth's surface, and of course the country of Qatar, the Middle Eastern region, and other kinds of deserts, to better understand the underground dynamics, and of course the aquifer dynamics, the sea level rise. So it's a very important program, but at the feasibility stage, of course, feasibility study stage. And across the centers, we have facilities such as these amazing core labs. It's really a jewel in the institute, and different testing facilities, especially the indoor and outdoor testing facilities. Just to highlight as well that we have been recently certified. So we have the ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001 certificates, and we are moving on the 17025 at the lab and at the equipment level. And this is extremely important to be sure that we can lead
I think Dr. Bermers is having some problems, so maybe Jose Manuel, we can go ahead.
Apologies for these problems we are undergoing. Anyway, all the audience will have all the presentations and the email addresses of the speakers in case you would like to contact them. As you saw, we had a problem with the video recorded by the General Director of CDTI. So in his place, we are counting today on Mr. Carlos de la Cruz, who is the Director of the Technological Evaluation and International Cooperation Division in CDTI. So Mr. Carlos de la Cruz, I give you the floor. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the technical problem with the video. I will read the words from our General Director, Javier Ponce, because I have the script here. Good morning. I welcome everyone to this online event titled Accelerating the Impact of Innovation in Spain-Qatar in CO2 Capture and Hydrogen Technologies, in which we follow three objectives: to share current situation expectation of both countries in sustainability and hydrogen application, to show the technological potential of some Spanish companies in this area, and of course to promote the collaboration between Spanish and Qatari entities in R&D partnerships. Further off, I would like to personally thank all the speakers and the audience who join us today, and especially the Spanish Embassy in Qatar, Spanish Ambassador Mr. Belén Alfaro, for supporting CDTI in the coordination of this event. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to the Qatar Environment and Energy Research Institute that will offer us an introduction to the Qatari R&D ecosystem in hydrogen technologies. And of course, thank you the Spanish companies and scientific entities speaking today. In order to put CDTI in perspective, let me give you a short introduction to its main role and mission in Spain R&D ecosystem. CDTI, the Spain National Innovation Agency, is the main executing public agency in Spain, organically under the Ministry of Science and Innovation, with expertise in promoting and funding industrial R&D, public-private R&D cooperation, generation and consolidation of tech-based enterprise via seed funding and direct co-invest in capital risk and private partners, public procurement of innovation and internationalization of the Spanish companies and entities and their R&D results. According to last figure, in 2020, CDTI allocated 819 million euros in direct funding, soft loan and grants, which translated into 1,600 financial commitments to support R&D activities. Based on the paradigm of open innovation, CDTI collaborates in the management of the participation of Spain in EU R&D Framework Program, Horizon Europe, and in several international collaboration programs managed under multilateral or bilateral schemes like Eureka, Iberoeca, Prima, and other particular bilateral programs focused on specific geographical regions. In that sense, CDT has entered into agreement with an important number of research and innovation funding agencies all around the world. In Middle East and North Africa, CDTI has signed collaboration agreements with funding agencies from Morocco, IRSN, Algeria, DGRSDT, Jordan, HCST, and Egypt, ETIDA. Nevertheless, we can provide funds to Spanish entities involved in R&D projects with foreign entities of other countries, along as this one could cover the cost in the R&D project. From 2018 to 2020, we have found about 39 projects in the MENA regions, with a budget of 21 million euros and a grant for about 13 million euros. We have approved for a project with Qatar in a consortia with Autoritas Consulting and Hamad bin Khalifa University from the Qatar Environment and Energy Research Institute. To support and promote this international activity, CDTI has an overseas network. We have a Spanish Office for Science and Technology, SOS, in Brussels, in several countries of Asia, India, China, South Korea, and Japan, in North and South America, USA, Mexico, Chile, and Brazil, and of course in Middle East and North Africa, where we have working very active teams with a delegate in place, Jose Manuel Duran, based in Morocco since 2018, that has opened this event. In this MENA region, we consider that we play an important role supporting Spanish technological companies, funding around 15 technological projects between Spain and MENA zone partners. We also collaborate with Morocco, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, and Qatar. CDTI can fund Spanish participants in collaboration projects with mentioned countries, but also with other Gulf cooperation countries. During this webinar, we will have the opportunity to hear Mr. Antonio González García Conde, President of the Spanish Technological Platform for Hydrogen and Fuel Cell, sharing with us the Spanish scientific and technological landscape in CO2 capture and hydrogen technologies. But I would like to give some figures about the support of CDTI to this sector. In the field of hydrogen technologies, in the last 5 years, CDTI has granted about 25 million euros to RDTI projects related to the use of H2 and energy vector. The total investment is up to 34 million euros. Still, it's a technology field which needs more R&D developing and new ways to ease and innovative companies to carry out their projects. Agri-public programs, in fact, in CDTI, in our mission-oriented program, Misiones Ciencia e Innovación, we have identified as a critical objective to impulse and promote hydrogen technologies. Later, one funded project to this program will be presented, or public procurement programs. Some relevant projects in the field of hydrogen are devoted to produce green offshore hydrogen, storage and distributed. A project like this involves many technologies like hybrid energy production, aeolic and photovoltaic energy, smart grids, and high-end engineering capacities to construct offshore and to decide the properly scale small layers to optimize the investments. Also, we can remark capacities in new electrolyzers capable of produce clean, high purity hydrogen to respond an increasing demand, and many other development ad hoc to integrate the use of H2 in fields like UAVs, train, road freight transport, etc. The increasing of the activity in this field reflects the increasing importance of the H2 development. Some of those national and international initiatives related to hydrogen and carbon dioxide technology will be presented along the webinar today. MERGI, Moroccan project for geological energy storage using hydrogen, international research and innovation projects by Enagas. Fleet, hydrogen-based technology solution for a smart and sustainable mobility of heavy-duty autonomous fleets. R&D project from Misiones 2020 called by Técnicas Reunidas and Tecnalia, among others. Development of advanced technologies of production and storage and hydrogen distribution and its industrial transfer for the new era of hydrogen in Spain, R&D project from Cervera 2021 called by Ternalia. And it truly combines that there is room for technological partnership and projects involving Spanish and Qatari entities in the trendy technologies that we will see today. CDTI wants to offer to Spanish companies and entities and those from Gulf cooperation countries our service and intermediation through our team of foreign technology action, especially those who work for the MENA region, to articulate a mature collaboration in R&D and technological alliance. For this purpose, we organize this kind of webinars of events, giving the floor to all the speakers, opening a debate with question and answer to share know-how and to exchange experience. I will encourage the Qatari audience to consider Spain as potential partner for collaboration when you plan joint research and technology development projects. I will be very happy to see that in the coming year, we have supported even more collaborative initiatives between our two countries. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Carlos de la Cruz, for joining us today and giving us the speech that was planned Mr. Javier Ponce should give us. Apologies to the audience for the issues or problems that we are undergoing. It's not easy managing a webinar where the speakers are in 4 different countries, like Spain, Qatar, Netherlands, and Morocco. But anyway, we will continue. We are trying to reconnect Dr. Vermes. So meanwhile, we hope that he will be able to join us later on. But meanwhile, I will give the floor to, I think Dr. Vermes is here. I see him in the screen.
Yes, sorry, I had a
okay.
connection issue.
You can continue if you want. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I shared most of what I wanted to share about the Institute, so I'm very glad again to be here. The Institute is, I think, a key partner to the Spanish entities and industries, and of course the embassy based here in Qatar, and we are more than happy to welcome any of you anytime to share with you our vision about how we could work together in the country of Qatar. I shared most of the structure of the Institute and the mission of the Institute, so I don't want to take too much time. And apologies for these IT, I lost internet, just to be transparent with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vermes. I guess that we have to use to these new times, new era of virtual webinars. That it's not the first time, and I hope no. I suppose it won't be the last one that we are undergoing technical or communication issues. So thank you for joining us today. It was very interesting what you explained about the transition that QEERI is managing from the basic research to the applied and innovation in order to spread what you are doing in your labs, in your facilities, to the Qatari society and worldwide. So thank you again for joining us today. And we are going to continue with another high level of our speakers today. He is a reference in these technologies in Spain, Mr. Antonio González García Conde, who is an aeronautical engineer from the UPC of Madrid, has developed his professional career at the National Institute of Aerospace Technology, INTA. He started with developing pioneering projects in Spain in the production of hydrogen with photovoltaic solar energy in the 90s and the use of hydrogen in fuel cells. From the 90s to 2011, he was the Spanish representative in the collaboration program of the International Energy Agency on Hydrogen Technology, organization he shared in the period 2008-2011. Currently, he's the president of the Spanish Technological Platform for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells. And besides that, he's the vice president of the Spanish Hydrogen Association. So, Mr. Antonio, thank you for joining us today. We are honored to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for your kind presentation. Let me share my presentation. See that one. Can you see the presentation now? but not in the whole screen.
Yes, use the full screen, please.
Let's see, full screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Okay, first of all, thank you very much to the Spanish Embassy in Qatar and also to CDTI for inviting me to be in this webinar. For me, it's a pleasure to be with all of you and an honor. Well, can you see the table of contents of my presentation?
Yes, everything is running perfectly. Thank you.
It's running perfectly. Thank you. So this is the content of my presentation. I will devote some slides at the beginning to talk about the Spanish Hydrogen Association and the Spanish Technological Platform of Hydrogen and Fuel Cells. Then after that, I will comment on the hydrogen potential in Spain and the strengths that opportunities that this technology offers to our country. Following that, I will give some preliminary data taken from an analysis of the Spanish sector, Spanish R&D sector, carried out in the framework of the technological platform. And finally, I will go to the end talking about the investment opportunities in Spain. So the Spanish Hydrogen Association was founded in 2002. Until now, it's been almost 20 years being the voice and supporting the sector in Spain. Since the very beginning, we participated at the European level in the European Hydrogen Association, and some years later, we participated internationally. Currently, we have more than 200 members. Our mission is to promote the development of hydrogen technologies in Spain with the aim of strengthening the national industry. Our vision is that hydrogen is a key vector in the decarbonization of the Spanish economy in order to achieve the carbon neutrality objectives in 2050. And also our vision is that hydrogen technology will allow us to reactivate our economy by reducing energy dependence and generating highly qualified jobs. Well, this is the set of logos of our members and the web address, but a special mention to our promoter companies, which, as you can see, are companies belonging to different sectors: electricity, oil, gas, automotive, engineering, and also consultancies. Regarding the Spanish Technological Platform for Hydrogen and Fuel Cells, is an initiative promoted by the Spanish Hydrogen Association and is supported since the beginning by the Ministry of Science and Innovation. It was founded in 2005 as a mirror activity of the European platforms. The intention at that time was to increase the level of participation of the Spanish entities and companies in the European programs. The platform is a type of advisory body that the Spanish Ministry of Science and Innovation uses for the preparation and deployment of its R&D strategies. The technological platform operates as a meeting place that brings together the entire hydrogen value chain, including science, technology, and also business. And in this meeting place, the entities whose activities are related with this sector can participate openly without paying any fee, and can contribute with their experience, with their knowledge, and with their vision in the preparation of the documents to be prepared for the administration. Here you can see the set of logos of the entities participating in the technological platform. Now, talking about hydrogen potential in Spain, if we take into account the three main characteristics of hydrogen technology in terms of allowing a greater penetration of renewable energies in the mix, and also in terms of the transversality of application that allows the decarbonization of all sectors, and also considering that the hydrogen is a key technology for coupling sectors and also in circular economy. Taking into account all of that, in the case of Spain, our potential is based on the capacity to produce renewable electricity at low cost, of course, which means that we can produce hydrogen, renewable hydrogen at low cost also. It is also based on our geographical position, which is strategic. And also, we believe that it's based on the capacity of our industrial fabric, that will allow us self-supply of hydrogen and even to export surpluses of hydrogen to our northern neighbors. This slide summarizes the strengths of Spain in the technology. As I said, we have a high level of renewable resources, a very good geographical situation, a large tractor companies in place, a specialized industrial and productive framework for the whole hydrogen value chain, and also technological and industrial development capabilities available. So the current context offers the Spanish sector some opportunities, of course, but at the same time, the sector had to face some weaknesses that I will summarize in the following slides. So firstly, the opportunity to have a made in Spain technology faces the weakness that we have in public-private collaboration. We have a very good global position in terms of the international scientific publications, which is between 3 and 4% worldwide, which clearly exceeds almost double the contribution of Spain to the world GDP. But this knowledge is not well transferred to the industry. So therefore, what is required here is to orient R&D plans to industry objectives, and also to promote technology clusters in order to facilitate science technology industry collaboration. Secondly, we can achieve a national capacity in products development. However, the weakness here is that Spain has not been part of the forefront in hydrogen policies during the last years. Therefore, it is necessary to press the accelerator. I really believe that we are accelerating very rapidly, but there is a need to develop manufacturing capacities, and this requires strong investment support. And thirdly, we have the capacity to self-supply and even to export hydrogen, but our weakness is that we start from the scratch. Of course, I must recognize that we already have a framework for promoting hydrogen, but it is essential to deploy strategic national project to promote demand creation and also to eliminate administrative and regulatory barriers. All of that implies a very diverse set of regulatory actions in both sides, in the end use sides and also in the production, storage and transport of hydrogen side, including, of course, the guarantees of origin. Now, regarding the current scenario in Spain, the government policy focuses on renewable hydrogen. In the slide, we can see some of the press releases stating that Spain will allocate 1.5 billion euro for the development of green hydrogen until 2023. And it is also indicated that the total expected investment to be mobilized is around 9 billion euros until 2030, which is a very important amount of money. Well, the Spanish technological platform for hydrogen and fuel cell has accompanied the announcement and all the calls of the different ministers with the publication of documents that you can see in this slide. Unfortunately, they're still only in Spanish. In December 2020, we published it was an analysis of the sector from the point of view of R&D activities, the R&D activities. And in March 2021, we published 2 reports, one with the ongoing, in which we gather the ongoing activities, the projects in R&D, but also another report, which is a guide, including all the members of the technological platform, and the technology available to each of them. It's also important to say that the Spanish Hydrogen Association is in the process to finish the sectoral agenda of hydrogen industry in Spain, which is a document that will be included within the strategic framework of the Spanish industry. For several months, 3 working groups dedicated to market and technology, to priority measures and actions, and to R&D, with the coordination of the Spanish Hydrogen Association, have been working on the development of this agenda. And I would like to show you briefly, without entering into details, some preliminary results of this work, which somehow describes how the hydrogen sector is composed in Spain. For example, talking about R&D activities in the hydrogen value chain, you can see that practically this green part of the pie, half of the participating companies, the entities participating in the technological platform, are active in production R&D activities. In the other half, it dominates the R&D activities in uses of hydrogen. With a lower percent are the activities on storage and distribution of hydrogen. But if we go to industrial activity in the hydrogen value chain, of course, once again, it dominates the industrial activity on production and uses of hydrogen. But now the activities on storage and distribution takes a bigger part of the pie. Concerning potential business lines, well, there's more balanced distribution, but in any case, engineering, the consulting, promotion, and equipment manufacturing are the dominant ones, followed by R&D, the supply of materials and components, and the distribution of equipment mainly. So to finalize, I would like to mention again that the main focus of the Spanish policy nowadays is renewable hydrogen. That you can see in these other press releases here, the main projects and industrial clusters in the different Spanish regions are addressing their actions toward the decarbonization of the sectors in industry, transport, and electricity generation, but making use of renewable hydrogen. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, for showing us the landscape of these technologies in Spain and the expectations that the sector had in the following years. Thank you very much for your speech today. We are coming back to Qatar right now. Today, we have the pleasure of counting on one of the pillars of our international action in R&D. We have one reference in these technologies working worldwide, and a Spaniard that has been in several countries that we will see right now, Dr. Verónica Bermúdez. Dr. Verónica Bermúdez is a senior research director at QEERI, Qatar Environment Research Institute, where she is the director of the Energy Center. She's leading scientific and technological research, development, and innovation at QEERI in the field of energy, while addressing the impact of climate change and developing sustainable development solutions in a net zero carbon emissions scenario. She has more than 20 years of experience in research, development, and innovation. Before joining Qatar Foundation at QEERI in 2018, she was the acting general manager of the technology division of the Atsushi Research Center at Solar Frontier in Japan. She has also held a position of expert engineer at EDF R&D, senior scientist at Nexus and a startup, and head of the optoelectronic characterization lab in EDF France, between others appointments. So thank you, Mr. Bermúdez, for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just Miss Bermúdez, not Mr., but the rest is fine. Thank you very much for this. No worries. Thank you very much for this very kind introduction. It's my pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to share with you the activity that we are doing in the Energy Center in QEERI, in particular in the CO2 carbon capture and emissions, and in hydrogen. So I'm going to try to share my screen, so it should be fine now. So just a very brief introduction, and to complement what Dr. Mark just told you. few times this morning. So QEERI is composed of 4 main centers and one program and one observatory, and I'm leading the energy center, where we are trying to tackle and to help Qatar in their actions of taking a range. Qatar is taking a range of actions to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions, to reduce its carbon footprint emission, and to position itself as a leader in the development of climate change and clean energy technologies. So domestically, Qatar has a renewable energy goal of sourcing 20% of the country's total energy from renewables by 2024, which is something that is happening all around the globe with the different countries' net zero emission targets by 2050. So developing clean technology is also a way of Qatar, it's also a focus for Qatar, given its resources, natural resources, an opportunity to develop technologies that address specific climate change challenges for Qatar and the GCC, and that can be commercialized and exported globally. So and these are things that we are doing in the energy conversion program and the energy management program, where that are two of the 4 programs we have in the energy center that are related with clean energy and energy transition. So, however, there is not realistic path to meet net zero targets that only involves going towards renewable energy. And there is not realistic path to net zero that involves abandoning fossil fuels completely or even stopping industrial activities. And this is why if we think in a sustainable industrial and societal development with net zero emissions, we can only think, and this can only be achieved through a collective effort of adapting commercially viable and renewable technologies, along with enhanced utilization of natural gas, CO2 and CO2 derived feedstock. And this is what we are taking care in the catalysis and process technology, and this is the subject of today's discussion. So in the catalysis and process technology program, we have 2 main trends, the 2 main axes of research. One is related with the methane upgrading, and the other one is related to the carbon capture and conversion or utilization, which will be the subject of the discussion about the projects that we are having here in QEERI, and that they are really close to the industrial needs. So QEERI's Energy Center mandate is to support the competitiveness and sustainability of Qatar energy sector, as I told you before. So, and this, what we are doing in this carbon capture projects is to develop technologies and innovate in the uses of CO2 through the development of new technologies to make more attractive this activity of this technology to the market. So our main project is for direct carbon capture is related to direct air capture and conversion. So what we are trying to do here is to reduce the industry carbon footprint by converting waste to revenue and ensure sustainable sustainable industry development. So in this part, what we are doing is we are working on direct atmospheric capture, as I just told before, and this technology is under development. Use innovative materials and practical novel CO2 absorption and regeneration to bypass and reduce the high consumption stages compared to the other CO2 capturing technologies that are worldwide developed mostly at other emission sources and other sources very close to the facilities and industries that produce the main streams of CO2. So what we aim here is to develop and deploy advanced direct capture of CO2 coupled with AC splitters and HVAC systems, meaning that we could really use the already existing infrastructure in the cities, and in particular in cities in the Middle East that are very well that have a very good network of HVAC distribution to capture the CO2. So, and we aim do that from the atmosphere and challenging these captured gases to agricultural greenhouses, and also converting them into added value product. So the main challenges we are facing here is the design of integrated CO2 capture and conversion units and CO2 capture at low concentration. We are speaking about concentrations in the range of 400 ppm CO2. So the other extreme use is the industrial flue gas, and we'll see this a little bit later in the scope of carbon utilization. So for the capture, the chemical absorption using solvents based on amine solutions has proven to be highly reliable, efficient and accurate solution or large scale. And is one of the ways that we are building our capabilities and developing our technology. So in particular, this project is a program that has 5 sub-projects. It is a project that has been funded by QNRF with a total budget of $6.3 million, with 5 million from a grant from QNRF and 1.4 million from co-funding from industry. And if you can see here, we have a large number of partners inside Qatar that are contributing to the development of this project, as well as international partners. So with this research, we aim to contribute to tackle the environment issues related with CO2 emission in Qatar and globally. And all these economic and environmental factors will keep away Qatar from the perception of being a polluted country, which is a wrong perception, together with contributing to improve the quality of life in Qatar and potential enhancement of national incomes and economy. So the project outcomes we expect that will attract investment in CO2 reduction technologies by private companies, as well as national and international research grants. So if we move to the conversion part, in the conversion part at QEERI, we are focusing mainly in the CO2 mineralization to produce carbonate products. We are, as I indicated you before, we are mainly focusing in CO2 reduction to electrochemically convert CO2 into less polluting and more valuable chemicals, CO2 absorption, and of course, CO2 mineralization. Why CO2 mineralization? So the CO2 mineralization project has the potential of tackling 3 main issues of global and national relevance in Qatar, which is CO2 emissions, brine waste from desalination processes, and alkaline waste. So CO2 mineralization represents a hot topic in order to bring sustainability and mitigate the challenges associated with CO2 utilization. So the purpose of this specific project is to transform CO2 into solid, stable carbonates, mainly magnesium and calcium carbonates that can be used in construction industry, but not only. As you can see, there are many uses for this. Many industries have use of these carbonates in the textile, paint, paper, plastic industries, for example, for the calcium carbonate, and the skincare and cosmetic in the magnesium carbonate. In our current research, we aim to investigate the physical and chemical processes and aspect of mineralization process, as well as to characterize the produced carbonates. We are working today in bench scale reactors. We have already a proof of concept of this technology, and a few patents have been granted to this technology. And the team is working hard to combine brine alkaline wastes with CO2 source stream flue gas to obtain carbonates. And we are also working together with the national stakeholders in the conversion of CO2 using mining and metallurgical waste, a sustainable solution towards environmental mitigation. So we are focusing mainly in magnesium and calcium carbonate, but they are not the only carbonates that we can obtain with our process. We have proof of concept of barium carbonate, aluminum carbonate, lithium carbonate, sodium carbonate, and all of these kind of carbonates that have a wide use in the industry. So what we are aiming is to develop sustainable, practical, and economical processes for carbon management, while at the same time targeting carbon neutrality and addressing decarbonization challenges as main industrial sectors that are not easy to decarbonize, just decarbonizing electricity production. And I am speaking here of the oil and gas industries, the metal manufacturers, and the petrochemical industry. So, and doing that, we are aiming at the same time address the brine waste management, which is a serious pose serious challenges in the region, but not only in the region, in all those countries that heavily rely in desalination, and of course of this disposal of brine waste. But at the same time, we are also looking into the disposal of alkaline residues. If I move a little bit in depth about the alkaline industrial way, I can discuss a little bit with you and share with you why we are focusing here. It is because we really think that this application has strong benefits for alkaline waste management and disposal, and not only disposal, is creating another value for this waste into a way of, if I may say, to provide a circular economy into this kind of industries. So, just a few numbers. Alkaline waste is produced in more than 1 billion tons yearly, and it's potentially toxic. Bleach-like waste is produced to and piled in landfills every year, and often it has devastating effects. And our process here is tackling these challenges from an environmental point of view. Also, alkaline waste can be solid or sludgy. And it almost involves slags, ashes, or muds, and is formed as a byproduct of steel, aluminum, and coal power plants, waste incineration, or demolition wastes. So you see that we are tackling many industrial wastes that from heavy industries that are difficult to decarbonize, and we are not only decarbonizing, but helping to decarbonize these industries, but adding an added value to this waste. So of course there are a lot of challenges, but we are at QEERI very well positioned today in this waste management for the steel slags, fly ashes, red mud, and to combine this management of waste with CO2 decarbonation. So what about hydrogen? Because one of the topics, the topic of the conference, this discussion is CO2 management and hydrogen. What about hydrogen in Qatar, and what are we doing in the field of hydrogen? So today, to our knowledge, there is no real national hydrogen strategy or plan, or at least has not been publicly communicated. So we cannot speak for the country, but we can share our thoughts and what we see is happening. So the industry seems to be developing strategies, but as I just said before, there are no public announcements or large scales. There are some small demonstration projects that are being announced, and there have been some QNRF Qatar National Research Funding programs to finance them. There are however, some enablers that start to be in place. So gray hydrogen production already exists within industrial complexes here in Qatar. CCS capacity, carbon capture and storage, is being built, and this is mainly linked with LNG trains and solar energy deployment, where QEERI is heavily involved at the national level, is progressing and has more capacity is planned. There are also clear drivers, so we can just think about the climate change related uncertainty over long-term future of LNG markets, that there are a number of growing companies and countries committing to net zero targets, and these countries need to really define and implement the specific plans. There is a very big potential for blue hydrogen and derivatives to allow Qatar to continue to profit from the natural gas endowment. So there are few things that we see happening, and what we are doing at QEERI, we are playing an active role led by our Economist and Policy Research Director, Dr. Marcello Contestabile. We are helping to articulate and to facilitate the dialogue around hydrogen, and where are the gaps and which are the needs for the country in the field of CO2. So we hold in October 2020 a 2 days workshop in the hydrogen energy opportunity for Qatar. That was it had a very good participation of international stakeholders. We recently have been participating in the European GCC Clean Energy Technology Network, and we have received funding from QNRF for a second for a project in this field, and we are expecting to hold the second workshop to continue facilitating the discussion in January 2022 to support oil and gas industry and stakeholders. And from a technical point of view, in the Energy Center, we are contributing to this effort, because the policy and the strategy of the country, it is what will define our technical development and our technical projects. Because as Dr. Mark just told you before, our mission is to support the country towards its way forward tackling the challenges. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention, and this is my email if you have any question or future inquiry for QEERI. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bermudez, for showing us what QEERI, namely the energy division, is doing in CO2 and hydrogen technologies. Apologies for my mistake in your presentation. We are moving on to a set of R&D projects done in Spain by a technological center and 2 private companies. So we are going to start with the Technological Center Tecnalia representative, Mr. Ecaín Fernández. Mr. Ecaín Fernández is a doctor in hydrogen technologies and the head of hydrogen technologies at Tecnalia, PhD in chemical engineering at the Eindhoven University of Technology on membrane reactors for hydrogen production. From 2007, he has been working at Tecnalia on this field, participating in several European and national projects. In addition, he is a board member and hydrogen distribution technical committee leader of Hydrogen Europe Research, and he's also a board member of the Spanish Hydrogen Association. Dr. Ecaín, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duran, for your kind introduction. I will share my screen. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Duran, and also thank you for the organizers of this event for inviting me to present what we are doing at Tecnalia on CO2 capture and hydrogen technologies. These two, these are key research areas for Tecnalia. Tecnalia is one of the biggest technological centers in Europe, and we are focused on applied research. First, I will present what we are doing on CO2 capture and valorization at Tecnalia. It was nice. It was really nice to have the presentation of Mrs. Bermudez before me in order to give a nice introduction to this topic. So what we are doing at Tecnalia on this field, we are working on different technologies. From one side, we start from a CO2 source that can come from different industries. And first, we are working on CO2 capture and purification technologies. Here you can see some examples. We are working on membrane technology, absorption, and also ionic liquids for capturing and purifying CO2. Then once we purify or capture the CO2, what we do is to valorize it or use it to produce high added value products. And in this case, we are working on different technologies like membrane reactors, microstructure reactors, fluidized reactors, and also we work on the design of the catalyst in order to, from this CO2, to convert to chemicals or energy vectors like formic acid, methane, methanol, or dimethyl ether. We are also working on CO2 mineralization at Tecnalia for converting this CO2 to higher value products like materials for building industry. Now I will give a few examples of the CO2 capture projects we are working right now. One is the European project member, where we are developing advanced membranes and membrane-assisted processes for pre- and post-combustion CO2 capture. Also in this project, we are working on an innovative process where we combine the hydrogen production and CO2 capture in one single step. Then also we are participating in Biocommon project where we are developing bio-based copolymers for membranes and for applying them for gas separation, mainly for biogas upgrading, natural gas upgrading, and also post-combustion flue gas treatment. And then we are working also on a low CO2 project that is a regional project in our unit in the Basque Country, where we are working with different companies on developing technologies and trying to bring them to the industry for capture and use of CO2. Some other examples of in this case of projects for CO2 valorization. One project where we work in the past is on producing synthetic gas, natural gas, by an advanced methanation process based on a microstructure reactor, where we feed green hydrogen and biogas, for instance, and we can produce this synthetic natural gas. And now, more recently, we are working in two projects in order to convert this CO2, in this case to dimethyl ether, by two different technologies. One is a 3D printed reactor, and another one, this is the CO2 focus project. And in CO2 fuel project, we are working on membrane reactor technology for making the same conversion. We also have other projects on these research lines, and if you are interested, I can also give you more information. Related to hydrogen technologies at Tecnalia, this is also a strategic research area for us. We have been working on this field since 2002, almost 20 years. And we have been very active participating in European projects. Here you can see some some figures with and another thing relevant on this field. And then with specifically in one of the technologies that we have been working on the last years, that is membrane reactor technology, together with the University of Eindhoven and then the French company Engie has invested in this new startup company that we have created last year called H2Site. The aim of this company is to commercialize hydrogen generators based on membrane reactor technology. And if you want to have more information on it, you can visit their website. And I would like to also mention that at Tecnalia we are working on the whole value chain of hydrogen. Today we are talking about hydrogen production. I will give you some examples. But also we are working on hydrogen distribution, transport and storage, and the final uses of hydrogen. To give you some examples of projects where we are working, these are mainly European projects on hydrogen. The first one, Macbeth project, where we are working on scaling up the technology of membrane reactor technology for hydrogen production from, in this case, two feedstocks, natural gas and biogas, by reforming process. And the aim here is to go from TRL5 to TRL7 in this project. And for instance, one of the objectives is to test this membrane reactor technology for more at least 8,000 hours in operation. Then another project where we are working is a hybrid project where we are developing membrane technology, in this case for hydrogen extraction from hydrogen natural gas blends, dedicated for distribution grids in this project. Basically, as you may know, one of the ways to distribute or transport hydrogen that it seems that will be promising is are the grids, the pipelines. And in an initial step, the idea is to have a blend of hydrogen with natural gas. And the idea of this project is to, in the final point, when for the users, extract this hydrogen that is blended from the natural gas. This is the case of for hybrid project. In the case of Higgs project, where we are also working, it's a similar topic where we are also developing and testing different type of membranes for hydrogen extraction for these blends, but in this case for transmission grids at high pressure, for high pressure grids. Also in this project, we are working on the assessment of materials in contact with hydrogen related to gas grids, for instance, steel pipes. And another European project where we are coordinating in this case is the ARENA project that deals with using ammonia as an energy vector, storage vector. So we are covering the whole value chain of ammonia from producing it, storing it, and then using it. And in our case at Tecnalia, we are working on the development of this membrane reactor technology for producing hydrogen from ammonia by its the composition. And finally, I would like to talk on a recently funded project called Hydrogen for New Age that has been funded by CDTI recently under Cervera program 2021. The main objective of this project is the development of advanced technologies and the transfer to the industry in order to boost the positioning of the Spanish research centers that belong first to this consortia, and also of the Spanish companies in the whole value chain of hydrogen. This project has a duration of 3 years with a funding of 3.85 million euros. As I mentioned, it's coordinated by Tecnalia and with other partners, research centers like CIRCE, AIN, and Cardiff. And this is just in a short view what is our aim, what we are going to do in this project. Basically, we will have, from one side, we are going to work on the development of the different technologies. Also, we are going to build up demonstrators, specific demonstrators related to these technologies, for instance, electrolyzers, fuel cells, etc. And then also more related to technology transfer, we are also planning to build up a training program dedicated to the companies, to the industry, so they can, apart from having a theoretical part, also having a more practical view of these technologies, hands-on experience on to see, for instance, in the different research centers, what are the different technologies that we are developing and trying to scale up. So we can go, we can be more linked to the industry in this case. And here you can see what are the topics or the main pillars where we are going to work. Mainly, this project will cover from renewable energies, then hydrogen production, and then storage and distribution and transport of hydrogen. So basically different type of hydrogen production technologies based on electrolysis or other technologies. The storage, the distribution of hydrogen, the integration of the different parts of the value chain, and then also another important pillar on safety, sustainability, and certification that we think also is really relevant. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much. And if you have any question or you want to contact me, I will be very glad to answer you. And also, of course, we will be very happy to try to have a further collaboration with QEERI or companies from Qatar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Cain, for explaining what Tecnalia is doing at national and international frameworks to enhance and to boost the CO2 and hydrogen technologies. Thank you for your speech today. We are moving on to the next speaker, Mr. Jan Ramirez from the private company Técnicas Reunidas. Mr. Jan Ramirez is portfolio manager within Técnicas Reunidas Head Transfer Division. He's basically in charge of identifying and launching applicable initiatives in the field of product development, mainly in hydrogen ecosystem, plastics to liquids, and circular economy solutions, as well as in digital transformation applied to our everyday business processes. Mr. Jan Ramirez holds a master's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Technology of Compiègne in France. He started his career in France also for an international supplier of the oil and gas industry, and then he joined Técnicas Reunidas in 2008, where he has held several positions in project management, engineering management, and product development, mostly related to hydrogen solutions and specialty heat transfer equipment. Mr. Jan Ramirez, thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Many thanks, Mr. Duran, for today's opportunity to be part of this webinar. One second, just share my slides now. Good, here we go. So, as I was saying, thanks for the opportunity to explain a little bit what we are doing here with TR in the field of hydrogen and CO2 capture. TR, what the main activities and the specifics of TR are on our website, technicasreunidas.es. Just would like to start just talking about what is our field of activities and opportunities in the energy transition technologies. Okay, we are basically tackling activities in all the activities you can see here, from biomass power generation down to clean fuel for transport. This is, let's say, our company is, we're an engineering, procurement, and construction company. So we basically we build facilities, big complex facilities, and obviously we need to be part of, and at least we need to handle whatever is energy transition technology. Okay. Today we'll go more specific on what is hydrogen and CO2 capture and utilization. On hydrogen, the topic here is basically that what is a concern with hydrogen? Not a concern, I should say. We need to address what is multi-scale and multi-sectorial exponential growth. I mean, hydrogen is just not something devoted to oil and gas facilities. It's something which is worldwide needed, and it's just growing. So the thing is how to be sure that we can make a proposal to our clients in this way. One of the first interesting lines here is biofuel reforming. It basically means today the main activity, the main way to produce massive H2 is through reforming. What about using something which is not just plain natural gas, but maybe biogas, and for instance, or other fuels like bioethanol? Thinking on big capacities, just not, I mean, small capacities. I would just talk about that now straight away. On site reforming, as I was saying before, we are thinking also of the solutions related to hydrogen refueling stations. I mean, one thing is to have a technical solution for big industrial complexes as far as hydrogen production is concerned. The other thing is to do that with the hydrogen refueling station, where most of us with less, we think that maybe 1 decade will be just fueling our cars with hydrogen. So, I mean, the technologies which are behind that are just, may not be strictly the same, are not the same as the ones we use in big facilities. There's a full array of, let's say, technologies to do so. One which is quite interesting is electrolysis. We like that. PEM alkaline, so also, I mean, high temperature. We like the high temperature thing, one, because basically it's very good in terms of thermal integration. The other ones, methane cracking is also extremely promising, and we are making some activity in this field. Interesting with methane cracking is just basically you get your capture of seeds straight away. It's quite interesting. Obviously, gasification and thermochemical cycling, where basically working much more on materials and advanced materials to find a way to get your hydrogen produced. All these ones, the last ones, the second row, I would say, are much more on lower tier well, but basically it's this lower tier well is what we make the product for tomorrow. So we need to be being part of that. Why technology? At the end of the day, we make facilities. No, as I was saying before, it's extremely important to understand what are the technologies underlying the facilities. Okay, when we know that, we are better at the point of specifying technologies when we have these ones purchased to others, and then at the end of the day, we give a better service and product to our clients. Obviously, if we make technology in order to get the developments, these are the ones to be sold at some point of time also. This was for the, let's say, production part of hydrogen. For the wirings, like it is in the field of NH3 as H2 carrier, which is interesting also. I mean, I think it's production, the other thing is really transportation. And on hydrogen, but it's generic also to what I would say now on CO2. We are firm believers of open innovation models here. We're not saying that we're not making development just by our own. Obviously, as a company and any research and development center, we have in-house IP. But the thing is that we are also believe that we can go very far, finding the right associations so that the products we are firmly believers can go one step above in terms of maturity. On CO2, there's two things here. One side is what would be the workhorse here, which is amine scrubbing and absorption with amines, where basically we are in a level of innovation. It's not really R&D. We're innovating and trying to see what could be almost state-of-the-art solutions in terms of amine scrubbing can be adapted to specific needs. And one specific need we're all of us having in mind is the one of getting blue hydrogen out of gray hydrogen. You get your normal, I would say, standard or let's say H2 production, and you need to find a way to get this capture done. No? So right now we're just really working on these innovative solutions in this technical field. The other fields are fields which we are already also working on. We are very interested in liquids, obviously, PSA, MOFs and polymeric membranes, but I would say at a lower tier and at a lower scale. Our feeling is that provided we get a good understanding at a smaller scale, but also attending the scales I was mentioning before of, I would say, hydrogen refueling scale, well, we think that the maturity giving in this scale will be something that can be quickly extrapolated to larger capacities and initiatives. On the projects mentioned before, the Shanfield project TR is leading right now. It's a project based on the grant given by CDTI. And basically, we're leading a consortium of 7 companies and 6 R&D centers. One of these being Technalia that just explained what we are doing right now in this field. With this project, the goal is to put ahead, or let's say develop underlying technologies in the full value chain of hydrogen. I mean, we're not saying that here we're going to find a straight solution within at the end of a 3-year project of investigation. This is industrial investigation. So here the idea is just to work on a large amount of technologies that all of these are just linked and dotted together because of the value chain of hydrogen. Okay. Our proposal value is basically we work on one side making a generation of hydrogen that basically will try to minimize CO2 production as much as possible, unless it is as much as possible. On the other side, finding the most adapted way to produce, let's say, hydrogen from diverse sources of raw product and raw material. The second part is really working on the vehicle itself. So vehicles, here we talk about fuel cell vehicles adapted, and where we're going to work also on the storage of hydrogen on this environment. I mean, 700 bar, which is basically the standard now for, let's say, storage on cars, and let's say ensure that we find, make investigation on making the storage, let's say, smarter at some point of time. We'll go through also, work also on this topic of making smarter also the management of this kind of fleets of trucks in that case. And at the end of the scope, on one side, we have, we're trying to find a global optimum on the production consumption of hydrogen. I mean, the thing is, I produce hydrogen, but if it's to have this hydrogen stored edges and edges, it does not make sense. And on the other side, if I have trucks which are going to have hydrogen consumption, you don't want to have a shortage when your truck is going to refill. Okay, so the thing is just to find and make a lot of let's say investigation at case just to get to global optimum, making sure that we basically don't have any shortage in the service of these trucks, and also that we have a good adequacy and a minimum operating cost of the global solution involving production on one side and, let's say, consumption on the other one. On the specifics of hydrogen and CO2, here we'll be working really on catalysts for biofuel reforming. It's absolutely critical, very interesting, as well as specific design of heat transfer and equipment, and obviously reactors. Okay, and separation, we'll be just working on polymeric membranes, metallic ones, PC for mixed streams, and ion liquids. The closing thought, we have capacities to do a full bunch of things and attend a full bunch of necessities of clients, and energy transition matters, and can deliver active solutions on either H2 and CO2. I'm saying, yeah, here we're putting any TRL in scale. The thing is that we need now to work and understand better and having technology to grow, so that we are in a situation to understand and to supply better solutions for tomorrow's needs. Okay, so that will be my closing thought for this seminar. And many thanks for your attendance and time. That you're my email, and of course feel free to exchange with us anytime on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yuan, for explaining what Técnicas Reunidas is doing in these technologies, and thank you for participating today in this webinar. Last but not least, we are moving on to the last speaker, Mrs. Maria Jaén from the Spanish company Enagas. Mrs. Maria Jaén has 20 years of experience in managing staff and resources in the hydrogen and fuel cell field. This period of time has been related to the development of singular scientific and technical infrastructures, such as the National Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technology Testing Center in Spain. Since June 2018, she's the Hydrogen Innovation Coordinator in Enagas at the Innovation and New Energy Department, carrying out activities related to promotion and participation in R&D projects and initiatives at national and international level, company strategy, hydrogen roadmap, etc. She has been part of more than 15 R&D projects at national and international level, specifically the European framework. So, Mrs. Maria Jaén, thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours. Thank you. You're mute.
Can you hear me right now?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, perfect.
Could you put
Yeah, I want to share. Okay, it's correct right now?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So thank you so much for your kind introduction, Mr. Duran, and thank you so much for to the Qatar Foundation and to CDTI for inviting me to participate in this webinar. So I am going to explain a little about the ENAGAS action plan on hydrogen. And first of all, I would like to give you a brief overview about who we are. ENAGAS is the main gas transmission system operator in Spain. We operate and maintenance the natural gas backbone network here in Spain. We are an European certified gas TSO, and we are also the technical manager of the Spanish gas system. So we have more than 50 years of experience leading energy infrastructure construction, operation, and maintenance. We are present in 8 countries around the world, not only in Spain. And here in Spain, we have more than 11,000 kilometers of gas pipeline. We have 6 LNG terminals, and we have 3 underground storage facilities. So we are also, as I mentioned before, present in other parts of the world, for example, and USA, Mexico, Peru, Chile, and we are in Greece, and we are also working with Greece, Albania, and Italy in the Trans-Adriatic pipeline. I would like to share with you what is the Spanish vision for 2030 regarding the green hydrogen. On October in 2020, the Council of Ministers on the proposal of the Ministry of Ecological Transition here in Spain approved the Spanish hydrogen roadmap. It's a green hydrogen roadmap, and here they include 60 measures regarding 4 areas of action: regulatory, sectoral, cross-sectoral nature, and R&D promotion. So here I have included some key figures regarding this Spanish hydrogen roadmap. The idea is to install at least 4 gigawatts of electrolyzer power. Regarding the industry, a minimum renewable hydrogen contribution of the 25%. We have also targets for the mobility sector. And of course, regarding the environmental impact, we are the target is to reduce emissions by 4.6 million tons of CO2. The estimated investment of this total hydrogen roadmap, it's 8.9 billion euros. So in this context, ENAGAS had always had a very strong commitment with the energy transition and with the decarbonization process. We think that renewable gases will play a key role here in this energy transition. They will enable decarbonize hard to electrify sectors, and the use of existing gas infrastructure is key in order to try to achieve these targets at low cost and on time. So in this framework, ENAGAS creates a subsidiary in 2019, which is ENAGAS Renovable, in order to promote projects related with renewable gases. When we are talking about renewable gases, we are talking mainly about green hydrogen and biomethane. Regarding green hydrogen, we are always considering renewable energy sources to produce this green hydrogen. And of course, this green hydrogen will be used in all the sectors and in multiple uses. And regarding the biomethane, we are more focused on the upgrading stage. When you obtain this biogas, then you have to upgrade this biogas in order to obtain biomethane, and you can inject this biomethane into the natural gas network, and it has similar physical and chemical characteristics with natural gas. We are also so interested in the power to gas. we think that the deployment of renewable energies to achieve the targets that the Spanish ambassador in Qatar mentioned before for 2030, 2040, 2050 requires increasing the flexibility of the grid. There are a lot of ways to do that, but we think that one important way is to have a flexible energy storage system. So hydrogen is an option to energy storage. It can storage large amounts of energy for long periods of time. You can obtain renewable energies and then produce green hydrogen through the electrolysis. And this green hydrogen can be used in all the sectors. It can be also storage underground. You can, if you use the CO2 capture, then you can make methanation, so you can inject this directly the hydrogen or the biomethane into the natural gas network. So you are really connecting the power grid and the natural gas network. You are doing sector coupling here. So we are now studying what is the maximum percentage of hydrogen that could be injected into the natural gas grid. We think that, as I mentioned before, the leveraging existing gas infrastructure is key, is essential to achieve the energy transition and optimum cost. And of course, we have to work in the materials, in the safety, and in the end users applications. Here, I would like to share with you an initiative which is called the European Hydrogen Backbone Initiative. European hydrogen infrastructure is needed for Europe to achieve its climate and energy objectives. The European Hydrogen Backbone Initiative report published in July 2020 and developed by 23 European gas infrastructure companies demonstrated that this can be achieved based primarily on repurposed existing gas infrastructures, combined with targeted investment in new dedicated hydrogen pipelines and compressor stations. So we are sure that hydrogen can efficiently be transported through these natural gas pipelines. And of course, there are some adaptations that will be required. In this study, there are three horizons: it's 2030, 2035, and 2040, and there are different targets for each horizon. For the 2030, we will develop emerging regional networks connecting industrial clusters to an emerging infrastructure of about up to 7,000 kilometers. Then up to 2035, this backbone will grow up, expanding this network and covering more countries, and of course linking different countries across Europe. And by 2040, there will be an European hydrogen highway, because we think that a pan-European backbone is stretching into all the directions. There will be more than 23,000 kilometers. 55% will be retrofitted natural gas pipelines, and the rest of the 25% will be new pipeline sections. So this study shows that the total investment cost will be between 27 and 64 billion euros, and which means that the cost of transport of this will be decreased up to 0.09 and 0.17 euros per kilo per 1,000 kilometers. In this framework, Enagás is developing more than 50 projects related with renewable gases. About 35 projects are focused on hydrogen. So we are developing these 3 or 4 kinds of projects. The first one is we are developing projects that includes the whole value chain of the hydrogen, from the renewable sources through the development of the hydrogen production infrastructures, the transmission, the transport, and the distribution of this hydrogen, and of course the end users. So the idea is to develop large-scale projects for the decarbonization of the economic sectors. And of course, we will need to retrofit and upscale the natural gas network. We are considering both blending natural gas and hydrogen, as well as dedicated hydrogen backbones towards Europe. In that sense, we are developing the project IPCEI Green Crane, which includes more than 30 of the projects that I mentioned before. And the idea is to connect the south where the hydrogen will be produced in a competitive cost, to the north center or north of Europe, where the end users are waiting for this green hydrogen. Another kind of project is the demonstration projects at industrial scale. That means that we think that the concept of the electrolysis, the hydrogen and the fuel cell is more than proven in that sense. So we would like to develop industrial projects regarding hydrogen in order to help to implement the hydrogen economy. In that sense, we are developing one of the projects that we are developing is the Green Highland project, which is funded by the fuel cell and joint undertaking from the European Commission. So we are developing in Mallorca a hydrogen ecosystem, considering the whole value chains, as I mentioned before, since the renewable sources that we are building 2 new photovoltaic plants through the hydrogen production plant, transmission and distribution, and of course the end users. We have 30 partners in this Green Highland project from 11 countries, 9 from Europe plus Chile and plus Morocco. And the project started in January of this year, 2021, and is expected to finish by the December of 2025. In additional to the development of hydrogen infrastructure in these projects, we are developing a roadmap where hydrogen could play a key role in order to achieve the Balearic government objectives or targets for the decarbonization process for 2040. They will be to be 0 emissions by 2040. And additionally, there are 7 partners in this project that they are developing the studies in order to replicate this hydrogen ecosystem in their own territories. And there is another kind of projects more focused on the R&D, where that we are developing technology. In this case, for example, I would like to highlight Sun2Hy project. We are developing a technology that we are producing hydrogen directly from the solar energy, from the photovoltaic panel, and we really don't need any other equipment in between. So we are producing hydrogen directly for the solar energy. I would like to highlight 2 real projects that we have developed, we are involved in. The first one is the one that Mr. Fernandez from Technique mentioned before, that it was Renovagas project. It started in 2014 and finished in 2017. And the goal was to develop, construct, and experimentation a 15 kilowatt power to gas plant for the production of synthetic natural gas from electrolytic hydrogen and its methanation with CO2 from a biogas stream. So we operate this pilot within the project in real operations, complying with the Spanish quality standard for natural gas. And within the project, we optimize the hydrogen production. Then we develop catalyst, we develop a methanation reactor, we develop the engineering in order to scale up the plant up to 250 kilowatts. And then we include the development study of the different power to gas plants in Spain. So we developed this project within the FCC Aqualia, Gas Natural, Abengoa, and with the research center of the CSIC and Centro Nacional de Hidrógeno, National Hydrogen Center, and Tecnalia. Another project that I would like to highlight is the Melhai project. It's the Moroccan project of underground hydrogen storage. We applied this project to the INNOSPAR Maroc bilateral call with Morocco that was launched in March 2020 within the framework of CDTI and IRESENT. And they approved the project, and we expect to sign all the financing agreements and so on in the coming weeks. So the consortium is participated by Green Energy Park, which is the coordinator. And then there are other partners, which is HDF, SOMAS, the University of Ibn Tufayl, and Enagas. We expect a project duration of about 40 months. Really, the main objective of this project is to develop the pre-feasibility study of a hydrogen geological storage project in a salt cavern in order to collect the existing information on the subject and the relevant data for a more specific future feasibility study. So this pre-study includes, of course, the project management, which is leading by GEP. We will study the applicable regulatory and the legal framework. Sorry for that. So we have to talk with the authorities and study the legal barriers and constraints before launching this technical study. So these activities will be developed by HDF and SOMAS. Then we will select the optimal locations in order to see specifically in this location with will be the studies to carry out, we will be the where the pilot project will be constructed and in the future phases of the project. So this we have to collect the available technical information of existing geological hydrogen storage projects in salt caverns. That this is one of the activities that we are going to do from ENAGAS. And then we are going to develop a techno-economic study. So it will include the design of all the equipment that is necessary in the surface in order to construct this pilot project. That is something that we are going to develop from ENAGAS. And then we are going to develop a lot of studies regarding the water thickness, the mechanical stability, the simulation of the storage operation, and so on. And of course, we are going to include a first or a preliminary CapEx and OpEx estimation. Of course, there is another key point that we would like to include in this study, which is all the things regarding the environmental risk and impacts. ENAGAS and SOMAS will carry out the underground risk analysis. And then we are going to develop a techno-economic analysis of the project in order to see which will be the best business model and what will be the next steps in order to construct and build this pilot. So this is just a couple of examples of the project that we are developing. We will be more than happy to comment with all the audience potential collaborations and more initiatives regarding these hydrogen technologies. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Jaén, for this interesting presentation explaining what ENAGAS is doing to boost these technologies, not only at national level, but at the international framework. Well, the webinar is ending. I just wanted to remind you that the presentations will be sent by email to those that have registered in this webinar. In this presentation, you will have the email and contact data of the speakers in case you would like to contact them. Finally, to wrap up, I would like only to say that we would like to see how technological partnerships and R&D projects could raise because of this webinar. I addressing directly to the international audience, saying that you can rely on the Spanish expertise, you can rely on the Spanish know-how. You have seen that we have a lot of universities, technological centers, private companies that are very performant and besides are willing to cooperate with international partners in order to develop innovative products and technologies. So you can count on us. And finally, as a representative of the CDTI, Spanish Agency of Innovation, we would be glad of supporting these Spanish entities in international cooperation projects, as we have already done. We have seen how Mrs. Jaén showed us a project in hydrogen with Morocco, but not only with Morocco. We have supported in this region projects in Egypt, Jordan, Qatar, Emirates, etc., Algeria. So because of having partners from other parts of the world, as Malaysia and India, you can count on the Spanish expertise and the Spanish National Agency funds to do your R&D bilateral projects with Spanish partners. Thank you all the speakers, thank you all the audience for being today with us, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you very much.